Now, the overseas workers issue, again, it seems to me the one difficulty that Julia Gillard ran into in the Parliament, there were several lines of questions, but this was the one that I think is the one area where she struggled.
Did the Prime Minister tell the union bosses that she was furious about the Roy Hill Enterprise Migration Agreement? Did she or did she not?
I have dealt with that question and the fact that here is the Leader of the Opposition yet again with all his destructive intent, while this government has been getting on with creating Australian jobs. There he is mired in his petty politics.
The Prime Minister has responded to questions, but she's yet to answer the question. The question is, did she or did she not?
I think we've seen on grand display the lack of interest of the opposition in this serious policy question. They don't care about jobs. Petty politics, back and forth, petty politics, back and forth. That's all they'll ever be about.
The petty politics in this case was being played out in the Labor Party, wasn't it? Because you had a couple of ministers who are Rudd supporters on the one hand, Julia Gillard talking to the unions on the other.
This is a huge issue, and the Gazelle was right that the Prime Minister has not dealt with it. Effectively, what the Prime Minister has done is all but rebuke two of her ministers, both of whom were implementing government policy in a timely and consultative fashion. That's it, consulting with ministers and the trades unions.
And the Prime Minister's office.
And the Prime Minister's office. But the Friday that this was announced, Paul House from the Australian Workers' Union had a bit of a tanty about it. The Prime Minister left a meeting of five major executives from five major companies, Holden, Tallis, Kraft, Boeing, Blue Steel, to go off and spend 50 minutes trying to placate Paul House on this issue. And I think it's an extraordinary situation where she will side with the extra-parliamentary wing of the Labor Party against ministers, Bowen and Ferguson, who are simply implementing government policy.
And Gary Gray as well, don't forget. Gary Gray's in there too, and he's a rock-solid Gillard supporter who is now finding his pre-selection threatened by the unions.
And the upshot of the whole thing is that what should have been an unadulterated good news story, $9.5 billion project employing 6,000 Australian workers, turned into a bad news story. I mean, it takes a particular kind of skill to turn an announcement of a $9.5 billion project going into a bad news thing for the government.